In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create, for example, here we have multiple items on the legend, as you can see here, but we have these two here, and if we click on others on the legend, you can see we will hide both of those. So we're going to create a custom generate legend labels with an onclick functionality that will work specifically for these two here. So let's start to look how we can do this functionality. So let's start look how to customize a legend with GenerateLabels in Chart.js, where we create basically a others category. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, I need to go to chartjs3.com, getting started, this specific link here, which you can find as well in the description box. What we're going to do is we're going to grab here the boiler template, copy this. If you want to understand what this code does, watch this video here that explains it all. So then I'm going to just paste this in here. And then I'm going to cut out this, and then we put this in here, save, refresh. Now we have this here. What I want to do is I want to maximize the size of this. So I'm going to say here 80%, save, refresh. All right, now we have this. And what we can do here is, for example, I want to have a multiple. Well, let's change this. I guess what we could do is maybe that would be nice. It was a pie chart, because that has a different type of item, and I guess we need to reduce the size of this. Let's make this 45%. There we are. So we have all of these items here. Let's remove the scales. Going to delete all of those, save, refresh. So what I want to do is I want to add up two more items here. Let's see here. Let's make this 1 and 1. And what I will say is this one will be our others category. Others 1, others 1. And we have another one here with others number 2. So we have now 2 additional categories in here. But of course, what I want to do is I don't want these two here. They don't, or at least not like this. I want them to be categorized as one single box here that we can click on, and it will hide both of them immediately. So let's start to do this. To do this, we will have some items that we need to prepare. First of all, we're going to create a new constant, and we can call this constant our pie generate I guess labels legend. Alright, so once we have this, we want this to be a reference to something, and this is very important because we're going to grab here basically this default code. So what we're going to say here is chart, and later on I'm going to show you exactly what this is. Chart.controllers.donut. And why donut and not pie? Because donut and pie are identical. So they use both basically the same structure. There's a dot overrides dot plugins dot legend. So what we're really doing is, what do we want to do here? And I guess maybe it would make sense just to show you the item here. If we say here chart with capital C, what we're really doing is, let's refresh, open up console log. We're grabbing the constructor, or basically the chart object in this case. But this is the main chart object. So we said, let's do the controllers here. Save that, refresh. And then, as you can see here, we get all these options here. You can get here the donut and pie. They're basically identical, so it doesn't matter so much. So we can just put that in there. Let's put that in there. Save, refresh. Then we have another, what we call class, basically, but we need to go more deeper within this object. So dot overrides, and what we really want to do eventually is to override certain items. What exactly we want to override? You can click on this. You can see here we want to go to the plugins, and which plugin we want to pinpoint is the legend itself. So what we're really doing, just to be clear here, is we have a default setting. What we want to do now is we want to remove this default setting that we have here and override the legend on two items. First of all, I want to change the label structuring because I want these two merged together. And secondly, what I want to pinpoint is eventually the onclick within the legend with the onclick functionality, because if I do an onclick, I want to click, if I click this one, that's unique item, it should trigger both elements to be hidden instead of only one. So basically, I'll have this effect. So what we have to do is, whatever is the standard version, we're going to delete that standard version or override that with our new code. That's basically what we're doing, and I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do here is, this is the legend, we generate the labels. So we're going to say here, first one will be dot labels. And once we have this, we can save this, refresh. Maybe we can do it here as well. Overrides plugins.legend.labels. Save, refresh. And then you can see here the final item is the generate labels, which is the functionality to generate. Right now it doesn't generate anything. Why? It doesn't understand anything to be generated because it doesn't have any chart. It gets here the default chart settings, but it doesn't trigger any chart object like this one here, my chart. And we're going to get to that. So this is very important just to understand as the basics and the logic what we're doing here. So we're going to say here generate labels. All right, that's the first one. The next one we're going to do is constant, and we can call this our legend click. And what this really triggers is almost similar, but now you're going to grab this, put it in here, and then here in the legend, remember we had the legend here, then you should see here the onclick functionality. You can see it here already. That's the onclick. That's the one I want to trigger because I want to modify the structure or the effect of how it works. So what we're going to do here is say here the legend, say a dot on click with capital C. Make sure you copy it with capital C, identical to this here. This is a function that we're going to modify as well. Alright, now we have these two here, so that makes sense. Now let's start to look at where they're located. So if we really look at this, you see this here. If you look very carefully, we have overrides, but what are we overriding? Basically the plugins legend, which is just in the options. So let's go to the options here. We're going to say your plugins dot, or not even dot, and here legend. And within the legend here, what are we going to override? Let's look again. The labels. So that's the first one. Let's grab this one here, the labels. And within the labels, what we need to do here, go up again, generate labels. So we're going to grab this here. So once we have this generate labels must define which chart object we're going to pinpoint. And in this case, it's basically the chart itself. We can define this as chart, which understands that this is just the current chart that we're in. So once we have this, now what you could do here, for example, is a console log, and you can just grab the chart here. You will understand that this chart is a reference to whatever we have here. You can see it here. It hides the legend right now because we didn't define or didn't return a value. But if you look very carefully, it understands which chart we're pinpointing, which is the canvas of my chart, just this chart. So that's very important to have. So now you can see this is basically the chart itself. So what we're going to do is basically the following. I'm going to grab this up here, this item, where we generate the labels. We're going to override it, but then we're going to say which chart are we going to pinpoint? Well, the current chart where we're inside of this chart object, basically. So this chart that we're in, that's the one we want to grab. So once we have this, what I want to do here, of course, make sure that this is in here. Hold on. All right. What I want to do here, sorry, this should be the constant of labels, because these are the labels that we want to generate. We want to generate the labels of this chart. That's number one. And then what we want to do is, because if we do here console log now of labels, save, refresh, you will see we get all of these items here. All right. However, I want to remove these two here. They should be one merged together. So to do this, I have to break them down. First of all, I will sort them, and it's not always necessary to sort them, but I will sort them just in case. So we're just going to use the index numbers, which by default is already sorted. But if you would sort it, for example, on numbers or something like the values that it has, you can see here all of these items here. Then you could play around with that. And although I don't see any values in here, all right, so we can ignore that one anyway. But we're going to sort them just to make sure it doesn't do anything weird. So we're going to say constant sorted equals labels, which is just basically the reference of this one here. And then we're going to say here dot sort, and then we're going to say here A, comma, B, basically the two values that we want to have, where it sorts them. And this is a callback functionality. So for that, what we need to do is here, we're going to say here chart.data.data sets, because what I want to grab is basically our items here. It's this one here. We're going to sort all of these. And what we want to do here is to make sure that the data index is 0 dot data, and the data will be sorted based on a dot index. Why a dot index? I'll show you later on. Or basically we could show it here already, console log a. If I just comment out this, save, refresh. Alright, so you can see here we get all of the information here, and you can see here the index, that's the one we want to grab. So now we have that one cleared out. So a.index is the index number. And what we want to do now is, once we have this, of course, we say this equals, basically this is sorting. So what we want to do is we want to sort that and in comparison with the letter B. So I guess it will sort on alphabetic order, which is from 0 up to 9 or 8 what we have. Basically it's already organized, but we want to make sure it's done here again. Once we did this, then we can, well, already we're done here, we could basically grab here now the console.sorted. Save, refresh. And you can see here we just grab all of these things as a nice array. So now we have this here. What I want to do now is I want to split this up. And what I want to split it up in 2 parts. First of all, I want the one which I want to show. I want to show the entire week, which is from Monday to Sunday, and everything else, like others, I don't know what others would be, maybe holidays or something, well, doesn't matter, but basically you can imagine something else, they should be separated. So to do this, I'm going to create here a new constant called week. And this week will be sorted.filter, and then in this filter, basically what I want to do is I want to remove everything, well, from every element. We want to have the index as well, basically these 2 things we need. But what I want to do is for each of these, I want to get the index, and if the index, what we want to do is we want to compare the index, and nothing should be larger than index 6. Why? Because we're working with 0 to 6, that is from 0 to 6 is Monday to Sunday. So everything else after 6 should be not added into the sorted constant. So now if I do a console log and show week, save, refresh, now look what we have here. We only have the week here. So we have this first part here, which is everything of the week. What I want to do next is I want to have another one, and this other one is basically the other items. So what we're going to do now is we do basically almost similar to this, but then for the others. So let's create a new constant, and oh, sorry, not even, we don't have to create a new constant, because this others, this value of others will become very important later on. So what I will do is, let's, here we're going to put others, but this others must be also add up here above. The reason why this is necessary, you're going to create a let, you say others equals an array. So this is what we call hoisting. We remove basically value above in JavaScript to the very top, but we don't define it yet. Right now we just define it as a basic. So this makes it slightly like a global value, and then we can use this for every other item. Because later on, because we are right now in what we call like a block scope here, we have another block and we need to use these other values later as well. So that's why we have these others here. So we're going to say others equals, and then we're going to say here, basically just the same. We can copy all of this, but there's just only one difference. It should be larger than the value of 6. If we do this, let's do a console log again, and then we're going to say here others. You should see now the differences between the two. Alright, so we have this one here, which is the others category. So this looks very promising. So now if I would return, and let's return week, save that, refresh, you can see here we get everything except for the others. What I want to do now is I want to create a new category or new item for that. To do this, all we have to do is work with the week array. This is basically an array in itself. So what we can do, let's remove all of this excess code. We don't need so much of these console logs, it looks like a mess. And in here, what I want to do is, basically in the week, we have to create a new element in there, or a new array, which we call, so which we can do with push. So the push method. So what we're going to do here, in the week, we're going to say week.push, And then what we want to do here is the following. We're going to say here, first of all, what will be the text? In this case, the text, I'll just say here, this will be others. So if I save it right now, let's see what happens. You can see here, we get something. Of course, we have only created a item in here, but the onclick, that will be later on, is still not working. So don't worry about that. So you have the text, but maybe you say, well, hold on, look at the colors and everything, that's no good. So let's do more items in here. So what I want to do here is, we're going to say fill style. And then the color here, let's say this will be dark gray. Or let's make it with the alpha. And if you save this, you should see here now it changes here. What we could do as well is a comma. I'm going to say fill, stroke style for the border. Stroke style. And this, we can say this will be blue, for example. If I save this, refresh, now you can see there's a blue item in here. What I will do is I'll just make this gray, save, there we are. So now it's a nice grayish, slightly different, but the colors are officially not gray, but they are referenced to these two here. Of course, this is still not clear how. So that's why we have this here, because this here consists of the other value. So what I want to do here is basically we're going to say hidden, and what we want to hide. If it hides, what do we hide? We hide everything in the others. So we say here hidden, we can say index 0 dot hidden. So this will allow us to hide the items if we later on click on hidden. But right now hidden is hold on, 104 double commas, sorry, save, refresh. Alright, so you can see here, let's see if I click on this right now. So what is the hidden? Hidden will indicate if it's showing or not. If it's hidden, true, in that case, we want to hide the entire array here, or at least the first one, but they're all matching together. So they're all combined in here. Alright, yeah, it's for me even still tricky. But anyway, I hope you understand this logic. So we remember we were here in the labels. We're going to put a comma here, enter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the onclick. And why the onclick? Well, remember here above, we specified here the onclick with capital C. So we're going to do here, onclick, capital C. And then what I want to do here is, well, what we can say here, I guess this should be like this, because it's a function as well. So in the onclick, I'm going to say here, click, the legend, item, and the legend. So these are basically the three parameters that is being used for this functionality. And if we do a console log on legend, you will see here what we will get. Save, refresh. And now if I click on something, you can see here what's happening. It shows us certain values, and it shows us legend items of 8. It does recognize this, and if I click on this, you can see here it recognizes something, but it doesn't do anything. But if I click on the others, well, nothing works at all yet. So it's not hiding yet. It doesn't understand it, of course, because I didn't do a return here. That's very important to understand, because we need to return eventually what we want. Anyway, doesn't matter. Don't worry about this. We have the legend here. What I want to do here is, all I want to do is make sure that, because everything else is still default of onclick, except this one here. This is a custom created version of ours. What we want to do is, when we click on this one, we want to hide both of these segments here. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say the following. We're going to create an if statement, and this if statement will be, I guess, oh, let me just show you this before I go ahead of myself. What is the legend item? Save, refresh. If I click on something, you get the legend item. If you click on this, there you are. So you can see here, when we click on one of these items, it recognizes the text. And what I want to confirm now is, if we click on this and the text will be equal to others, in that case, hide both segments. That's what we're going to do here now. So basically, if I do this, you can see here, then we can say here, legend item dot text, save, refresh. And now if I click on this, there we are, others, Sunday, etc., etc. It clicks on whatever we want. So we're going to say here, very simply, if this equals strict text. Oh, sorry, not text, others. That's the one we use here. That's the text here, others. So if that is the case, what I want to do then is, I want to say here, in the legend chart, because basically you want to go in the legend.chart, and this legend.chart should do something. Let's see what we want to do. Well, let's leave that for now. But what we want to do is, I want to grab here the others. That's the one we want. And remember, this is the reason why we have the hoisting, or we have a global value, because the value is at the very top, because now we're in another block scope. So others, and then what I want to say is here, for each of these items within here. So right now we only have 2. So we're going to say for each item, and we're going here a function arrow expression, because we're going to create a callback, and what we want to do is we want to hide this. How do we hide this? Well, basically we're going to say legend.chart, and then say .toggle data visibility, and then what exactly we want is the item dot index, basically the index of that item. Index. So once we have this, what we want to do now is we want to say enter here, and then we're going to say here, we want to say here chart. This is a chart. Basically we want to update this one, dot update, and maybe we should give this a proper shorthand, but that doesn't matter so much for now. Update, and then what I want to say here to return. Save this. Let's see if this works, or maybe we're still missing one item here. Alright, this works nicely here, as you can see. Alright, as you can see here, it only triggers this one here. Final item, because this is our custom for our item. So then what I want to do is, this is our custom item, and everything else will be a default, and the default is what exactly? Let's scroll up all to the top. This one here. I'm going to grab this, because this is just, we want to override it, but this we maintain in the default state. So all we're going to do is put this in here. Then we can say here, these parameters. So then it will understand, everything will work exactly the same. Save this, refresh. Click on this. Alright, this works. Now we can click on every one of these others as well. Or not even others, but all of these values. Of course, you do see here, I do see one item here that we have to eventually fix, is we're going to colors. So that's the only item. Oh, sorry, I was thinking about the colors, but I realized it's not the colors. And the reason why it's not the color, I'm looking at this color here. But remember, let's go up here. Here, because if we only specified 7 items here, it will loop through it as a sequence. So these other two will have, of course, a specific, well, it grabs these 2 colors here. That's why I'm just being confused, and I thought we have a mistake here. No, that's not the case. Let me show you. I'm going to make this special color. Let's make this really extreme. I'm going to call this pink. And then the other one, maybe pink as well. That's fine. Here, we'll make it pink, and here as well, so we can easily spot the difference. Let's remove these excess commas. Save, refresh. Alright, you get these pink here. And now if I remove all of these, you will see they will maintain pink, of course. And there we are. And you can see here, these are the colors, and that triggers all of them. Beautiful. So that is basically how we can create, if you have too many items in a legend, a sub-segment that covers everything else, especially if you have many small values on this. So if you like this video, and maybe, for example, besides clicking on this, you want to maybe make these segments clickable, that when you click on this, you will open up another website or another page of your site. In that case, I'm going to recommend you this video here on how to create clickable pie donut slices with links in Chart.js, which is really interesting as well.